Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Welcome back to the show. We are excited to be here with our friend today, Jim Dernocoeur, to talk more about his float spa. Yes, we're talking to him here today live on the show. If you're here on the podcast, he's also on the Zoomcast. And again, he's the owner of the Med Spa, and it's called True Rest Float Spa, based out of Albuquerque, New Mexico. Welcome to the show today. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing well. Thank you.
Great. Tell us a little bit about the spa and what you have to offer.
Well, we've been here for about 7 years, and it is an experience that you come in to enjoy, where each pod is in its own separate suite with a shower, and it's private, and you float in about 10 or 12 inches of skin temperature water that has over 1,000 pounds of Epsom salt. So it actually has more concentration than the Dead Sea. So you float like a cork. And the idea is to reduce the stimulus around you so that you can relax and get muscle recovery and pain relief and things of that nature from it. You spend about 50 minutes to 60 minutes a session in the pod. So it's quite a wonderful experience.
Wow. Okay. First and foremost, where's your location and how can we contact you?
We're in Albuquerque, New Mexico. We're at 6400 Holly Avenue Northeast. And there's the email where you can do at albuquerque@truerest.com. And then, of course, we have the phone number here, which I want to make sure I get it correct. It's 505-832-7014.
Perfect. And is there any social media pages we should be aware of?
If you go to truerest.com and then look up our location here in Albuquerque, you can go there as well. And in fact, you can schedule a float if you'd like right on the website.
Perfect. And that's truerest.com. Well, before we get to talk more about all the benefits of this float and, what you do, I want to know more about you. Would you mind sharing a little bit of your background? Tell us about,
Sure.
about you and
Sure.
how we got here. Thank you.
I'm a physician assistant, and I've worked in emergency medicine for, about 40 years, both as a paramedic and as a physician assistant. And so most of my background has been in medicine. My wife, who's also a co-owner, is a nurse, and she's worked in oncology as well as home health care. So we both kind of bring that medical focus to the spa.
Wow. So you guys now obviously working in medicine. How did you learn about the spa, the float spa, and the benefits of it, which we're going to get into? How did you get introduced to it?
Well, it was interesting. My wife was kind of looking for an opportunity to do a business, and then she discovered the float spa, and she says, "What do you think about this?" And actually, I used to do flotation when I was a paramedic in Denver.
Oh my gosh.
And that's how I knew about it, was when I first learned about it and did it in the early pods, which were kind of almost like coffin looking as opposed to the beautiful spas we have now. But it was, the benefit was great because, as obviously in emergency medicine, it can be sometimes stressful, and to be able to use flotation to manage the stress was really helpful for me.
Wow. Well, tell us what it is to float. People might not even understand what floating is. Let's break it down to them. Thank you.
Well, when you talk about True Rest, REST is actually an acronym. So it's Reduced Environmental Stimulus Therapy.
Okay.
And like I said, the idea is that once you're in the pod, because the water is skin temperature, after you've been in there for a bit, it's hard to know where you end and the water begins, so that you're actually kind of isolating yourself. When you think about it, every day we're bombarded with stimulus, there are emails and phone calls and text messages and people honking the horn and all these different things. And we never actually take a time to kind of stop, relax, and reduce ourselves from all that stress. And that's what this does. And by doing that, then your body can trigger what's referred to as homeostasis. Homeostasis is the body's ability to bring itself back to balance.
Okay.
And what you're trying to do is allow your body to bring itself back to balance so that you feel more refreshed and relaxed.
Ooh, Ooh, I've never floated before. So for someone like me, I've heard about it. Being in New York, a lot of people do it. What about for those out there who are a little apprehensive? Could you walk us through the process of what we have to do, what we can expect? Because that brings me anxiety to try something new, but I want to hear more.
Sure. Well, the thing that most people are concerned about when they first think is I'm going to be claustrophobic. And once they realize is that they have control, they can keep the light on, turn the light off, open the lid, close the lid, things of that nature, so that they're in control. So the process is for the first time floaters, we can bring them in. We do a short video just to give them an idea what to expect. You go into the suite, you shower before you get into the pod, and then you float. We do have what we call halos, which if you want to use as a pillow in there, you don't have to because your head will float.
Okay.
Some people don't trust it, so they kind of keep holding their head up. So this allows them to relax their neck. And then we have some music, so you can have music. Most of the time I like it just a little bit in the beginning, and then at the end to let me know, and the rest of it is quiet. But if you want to have music throughout, you can, or if you want no music, that's fine as well. So it kind of gives you that experience to relax. Now, the other thing that happens, which is interesting, is initially people say, well, I can't be in there for an hour. That's too long. And then what they'll do is they'll go in there, and then all of a sudden the music comes on at the end, and they're like, wait a minute, that wasn't an hour.
It's over?
I can't believe that was an hour. Yeah, exactly. It happens all the time.
See? Okay, well, let's get into the benefits of float. Would you mind sharing a little bit of that?
Sure. It's interesting. It was initially started in the 50s with studying whether people could manage being cut off from stimulus. Okay. And it was actually psychologic studies to see if people could do that. Actually, NASA did that as well.
Okay.
But actually what they found is people are getting benefits from it. So now there's a good research to show that it has benefit in many different areas. Obviously, one is stress management and anxiety. People with that stress or anxiety do very well with improvement. Post-traumatic stress disorder, we find that it's very helpful there. In fact, the special forces in the U.S. Military use flotation to help reduce the post-traumatic stress disorder as well as help treat that as well. The other thing that's interesting is muscle recovery is also very benefited by floating. When you think a lot of people use the cryotherapy, which the idea with cryotherapy is it causes all that vasoconstriction, and then once you step out, it dilates to bring all that blood supply to the muscles to help reduce the lactic acid and such. Flotation does the same thing, but it doesn't have to do the painful cold aspect of it. You can get that vasodilatation just by relaxing and floating in that skin temperature water. So it's good for muscle recovery. In fact, many of the NFL teams now have flotation tanks. We are using flotation for our local professional soccer team here, the New Mexico United.
Okay.
They use it as well. A number of the Olympic athletes use it as well for muscle recovery.
Wow. And how often do people come to float? What did you recommend?
Well, when you first start, we recommend that you do at least 3 floats, because the first one, kind of what you were saying earlier, is you're kind of trying to get used to the idea of I'm floating and get the idea how this works. The second time, you're kind of getting more used to it. It's easier. By the third time, you can really get the full benefit because you really have an idea of what you're getting into. So we usually suggest that they get at least 3 floats in before they decide whether or not this is for me. Mm-hmm. Then most people do it at least once a month. Some people do it more than that. We have some people that will float every week or sometimes multiple times a week. So it depends on what their needs are. Great.
Well, let's remind everyone all the ways we can connect with you. Would you mind sharing again, email, website, best forms of contact before we continue?
Sure. The email address is albuquerque@truerest.com. The phone number is 505-832-7014. And then we'd be more than happy to help set up a float for you.
Awesome. All right. Well, what else in particular did you want to share with your audience today about the benefits of float?
Well, the one thing they should know is if it's their first time float, that they need to come in a half hour early so we can do the video and things of that nature. After that, they can go directly to it. Other question that people often ask is, do I need to bring in a bathing suit or anything of that nature? No, most people float with no clothes on.
Mm-hmm.
And we provide everything else, the towels, the shampoo, the lotions, all that kind of stuff is here. The other thing that we have is what we refer to as our oasis room. So after you've had the float and you're relaxed, you can sit down here and drink some tea and relax and kind of ease yourself back into the high stress of daily life here. So that we have that as well.
Now, is there any package deals that you offer for our listeners? And, we have...
we have a membership. And that's the best way for people to float. We have, either 1 or 2 or 4 floats a month. And the nice thing about our membership is that if you say get 2 floats, you can share that with your spouse or your significant others. The other nice thing is if you're busy and you don't float that month, that will roll over to the next month so you don't lose your floats. Wow. We do have some unlimited float packages as well. So people who want to just float as many times as they want, they can do that as well.
What's in the water? What type of salt is it that helps you float? Like, could you share?
It's Epsom salt.
Okay.
So it's not sodium salt like table salt. And the nice thing is that, with table salt, it would be very drying and such, and the Epsom salt is not. And, people have been using Epsom salt for years for muscle aches and things of that nature. And sometimes people say, well, why can't I just put Epsom salt in my bath at home? It's like, well, you don't put 1,000 pounds of Epsom salt in your bath at home. So you don't get that, relaxation of floating and such. So it's also nice because it's not drying to the skin and such. You come out not feeling dry, but actually kind of silky when you get out of the tub.
Oh, well, then, so basically you're experiencing this weightlessness, right?
Correct.
And oh my gosh, I've never done it. I'm excited to try this because I've heard so much about it. And I know my girlfriend always says she falls asleep every time. I'm like, seriously? She's like, yeah, I love it. I love it. A lot of athletes do this too. Could you share that? I've heard about it with a lot of.
Well, like I said, one of the big ones is Steph Curry.
Yep.
He uses, in fact, he has his own flotation spa that he has as well. So he uses that. And it's interesting. He talks about not only getting the muscle recovery that we talked about, but also he feels like it helps in increase focus. So one of the things that he's very good at is in the tough situations, he's able to continue to focus on the game well. And he attributes some of that to being the flotation helps him get to the point where he can have that focus. So some people actually use it for creativity and such as well.
Really? Oh my gosh.
Well, when you think about it, the most creative time is when you're not thinking about the project. How many times have you tried to solve a problem, you go, I do this, and then later on, all of a sudden it comes to you. Well, that's kind of what flotation does. It gives you that ability to just let your mind work on that problem, and all of a sudden people come up with ideas or creative solutions while they're floating.
Yeah, you're right. All right, interesting. Well, being that this is new, well, at least, to someone like myself, I've heard about other things like immune system functioning. It helps with that too. And
you're always going to hear people talk about, helping with immunity and things of that nature. But I think it's really hard to say. I haven't seen any really clear research to show that it helps with the immunity. But anything that helps kind of bring you back to balance is going to help with that. One of the more exciting things for me that there's an early study to show that this may be helpful adjunct to people who are being treated for anorexia, the true anorexia, which is a very difficult psychological problem to deal with. The people who truly have that are very difficult to treat. And there's some early research to show that this may be really beneficial to use as an adjunct to their therapy.
My goodness. Well, also, there's the mention of increased creativity, feelings of euphoria, and I was reading about sleep. It's really helping people sleep better.
Yes. In fact, it's interesting. My wife, when she floats the next 3 nights, she sleeps much, much better. But that is all part of that, getting relaxation and getting that balance again. So sleep is definitely benefited by this. There's a lot of people who will float later on in the evening to help them sleep that night, and it works very well for that.
Interesting. All right. Well, we still got 8 more minutes left in the show. We got plenty of time to discuss more about True Rest. And go to the website, TRUEREST. You can type in Albuquerque, New Mexico to find your exact location. So this is a chain, right? Because there's a whole bunch of these all over the country.
Yeah, there's probably, I think we're about 40 of them now across the country. And the one thing that I really drew me to it is obviously I have kind of a scientific bent on things, is that there's good clinical research to show that there's benefit. It's not just, I did this, I felt better, and therefore it must be good. Most of the research has been done internationally, but there's more and more research now being done in the U.S. There's a research center in Hawaii. There's also one in Oklahoma City that they're doing research specifically on the benefits of flotation.
Ooh. Wow. Well, I'm excited to try this. And for people out there who've never experienced anything like it, I was also on your site. There's also YouTube videos, right? So you could actually take a look, see the process. You could feel more comfortable with it. And, let me ask, is there, do you recommend certain music? Is there something for the atmosphere in there? Do people listen to their own music? Or what do you do?
Well, they have the options. We have some music that we use, but if they want to bring in their own music, it can connect to the system so they can play their own music. And obviously, most people play a very relaxing music. Though it's interesting, there's some people come in and they listen to rock music while they're floating, which I think is counterintuitive to me, but they find that very beneficial.
Amazing. Now, when did you start this business?
We started about 7 years ago.
Let's talk a little about what happened during COVID, the pandemic. Could you share?
Oh, well, that was difficult for us. We were shut down for at least 3 months. Because it has the name spa in it, they thought it was very hands-on and very close touch, which it isn't. So it took a while for them to understand that it was okay for us to open and we could properly distance and such. The interesting thing was, to me, is that, Maria and I both tried to put out good information because it was difficult during COVID because there was a lot of misinformation. That we had people that actually joined as members during COVID, even though we were shut down, to support us, which was very, very rewarding.
And after you shut down, come back in, then you're realizing that this could be really good because mental health and anxiety and stress is that, being as a PA, you must know that's got to be huge, right? For people, I feel like
absolutely.
This term anxiety and stress is something that we all talk about now so much. I didn't know so much about it till the pandemic. Could you talk about that a little?
Right. Well, any level of stress can be benefited by flotation. And you're right, the pandemic brought out a lot of anxieties and stress for people. And it was difficult because there was so much conflicting information going on and such that people were unsure, and that made them very anxious. So once we opened up, we were able to provide this to people to help them manage that stress that was going on. And that was it was rewarding for us to watch people benefit from flotation.
Wow. All right. Well, we still have 5 more minutes. What else about why people should float, and what brings you into a float, a spa like yours, and what makes yours, would you say, more unique than maybe someone else's? Just, why do they come to see you? You and your wife are a great team.
No, that's okay. One of the things, obviously, that we pride ourselves on is making sure that we keep the spa, relaxing and clean. And, one of the things that's really important for people is they could concern, are you going to be, managing the water well? And we do, above and beyond for that. Each pod has its own filtering system that has filtered down to 5 microns. It has an oxidating system. It has UV. And every drop of water goes through that system at least 3 times between each float. So the water is always kept pristine. And that's, something that's obviously important to people. So making sure that it's not only comfortable, but it's clean helps that relaxation as well. So they don't have to worry about, oh my gosh, are they taking good care of this place?
Yeah, right. Oh my goodness. Well, for someone also, that's out there who wants this type of relaxation, and is there anything we should be aware of, medical conditions that we cannot, use the float room? Is there anything we should be aware of?
The biggest thing would be is, if you have any kind of open sores and that kind of stuff, because the salt will kind of burn and that kind of such. I had one friend who wanted to float, but unfortunately had pretty reasonable psoriasis, and that was kind of uncomfortable for him to float because of the salt. So those kind of conditions can be difficult. We get a lot of questions about, if I have a pacemaker, can I float? Yes, you can float with the pacemaker. It's not a problem. The other people that benefit from flotation and have concerns are pregnant women. Pregnant women are concerned that, can I float while I'm pregnant? And yes, not a problem. You can float. And the nice thing about that is, when you think about it, it's one of the few times that pregnant women can actually relax their back, because otherwise they're carrying all this weight up front, so their back is always working. So it's a nice way for them to get some pain relief from that lower back pain that sometimes they get from carrying that weight and their shifting of their center of gravity.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And again, remind us how we can contact you. And this is exciting stuff. I can't wait to try it. I wish I lived closer to your location, but I will try it one day soon here, at least in New York.
There is one. I know we have a location in New Jersey, I think, which is close to New York, which you could certainly try. Yes, it is. I have family
there. Thank you so much. All right. Tell us again one more time how we find you.
So Albuquerque@truerest.com, or you can give us a phone call at 505-832-7014.
Perfect.
We look forward to seeing that.
Same here. Thank you so much. Pleasure having you here, and looking forward to Thank you. To all of our listeners, please stay tuned. We'll be right back with more. Thank you.
Thank you.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Hi, this is Terry Crews, actor, former football player, game show host, father of 5, and all-around big dude. I'm also an expert on drama. I know all kinds of drama. There's the good kind that comes with having a house full of kids. There's the bad kind, like season-ending injuries. There's the necessary kind, like having an agent in Hollywood. And there's silly drama, like the drama around my percolating pectorals. And then there's the drama you can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency. Find free adult education classes near you and finish your high school diploma. Visit finishyourdiploma.org.
Or text diploma to 97779. Message and data rates may apply. Reply STOP to opt out. That's diploma to 97779. And leave the drama to actors like me.
Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.